The strange signal came at exactly 3:27 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Jack Miller had been half asleep at his monitoring station on Europa when the computer started beeping. At first, he thought it was just another ice shift on Jupiter's frozen moon. He had been working at the remote outpost for 3 years now, and strange noises were common. But this was different. "Susan, you might want to see this," Jack called out, his eyes fixed on the screen. Dr. Susan Wright appeared behind him, her coffee mug still steaming. She leaned over his shoulder and frowned at the pattern on the display. "That's not natural," she said simply. "Run it through the filters again." Jack tapped at his console, and the signal became cleaner. It pulsed in a perfect sequence, too regular to be anything but artificial. And it was coming from far beyond Pluto. "Is it from one of our deep space probes?" Jack asked. Susan shook her head. "No, nothing of ours is out that far sending signals like this." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "We need to call Earth. Now." Within hours, the signal had been decoded. It wasn't just random noise. It was a message, a warning. And it changed everything humans thought they knew about their place in the universe. Peter Ross stood in front of the Emergency Council of Earth's United Governments. As commander of the United Earth Defense Force, he never expected to be delivering news like this. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are not alone," he said. The room stayed silent. "And worse, we've just learned that our solar system sits on the edge of a war zone." The screens behind him showed the translated message. A galactic conflict had been raging for centuries between something called the Coalition of Free Worlds and the Nexus Empire. Both sides had ignored Earth's solar system until now, thinking it too primitive to be worth notice. That had suddenly changed. "The message warns that Nexus forces may soon enter our space," Ross continued. "They consider our system to be strategically valuable now." A council member raised her hand. "Do we know which side sent the warning?" "The Coalition," Ross answered. "And there's more. Our deep space telescopes have detected ships, actual alien ships, approaching our system." The room erupted in voices. Ross waited for quiet before continuing. "One appears damaged. The others are in pursuit. Based on the warning, we believe the damaged ship is from the Coalition, and the pursuers are Nexus." The council debated for hours. Some wanted to hide, to pretend humanity hadn't received the message. Others wanted to prepare for war immediately. In the end, they decided on a cautious approach. Observe but do not engage. Lieutenant Kate Daniels listened to those orders with growing frustration as she watched the situation unfold from her position on the UES Frontier, Earth's most advanced space vessel stationed near Neptune's orbit. The damaged Coalition ship limped into the solar system, trailing debris. The Nexus vessels followed, weapons visibly powered according to the Frontier sensors. Kate knew the Coalition ship wouldn't make it past Jupiter. "Captain, requesting permission to take a shuttle to assist the damaged vessel," Kate said, standing at attention. Captain Dias shook his head. "Orders are clear, Lieutenant. We observe only." Kate clenched her jaw. "With respect, sir, they'll be destroyed before reaching Earth. If they're trying to warn us, don't we owe them something?" "We don't know anything about these beings, Lieutenant. We know they're in trouble, sir, and they tried to help us." The captain stared at her, then at the screen showing the limping ship. Finally, he sighed. "Fine. Take a small team. Humanitarian mission only. First sign of danger, you pull back." Kate nodded. "Yes, sir." 90 minutes later, Kate and her team of 4 approached the Coalition vessel in their shuttle. Up close, the alien ship was both familiar and strange, clearly designed for space travel, but with technology unlike anything humans had created. The shuttle's radio crackled. Strange sounds came through, then halting English. "Human vessel. Thank you. Approach docking area." Kate guided the shuttle to what appeared to be an entry point. Her heart pounded as the airlock sealed with a hiss. This was humanity's first direct contact with alien life, and it was happening during a retreat from battle. As the inner door opened, Kate took a deep breath. The aliens waiting for them stood on two legs, but had blue-tinted skin and large, sensitive eyes. One was clearly injured. "We are Coalition," one said in broken English. "Nexus comes. Your world now in danger." The alien extended what appeared to be a data device. "This explain. Need your help. Galaxy need your help." Kate took the device, knowing that this moment had just changed human history forever. The Coalition ship was taken to Earth orbit under heavy guard. News of aliens spread across the planet within hours. Some people panicked, but most watched in wonder as the first official alien delegation landed at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Ambassador Zartek of the Coalition stood 7 feet tall with blue skin that seemed to shimmer under Earth's sun. He bowed deeply to the gathered world leaders. "We thank humanity for saving our scout ship," Zartek said in carefully practiced English. "Now we must speak of greater dangers. The Nexus Empire comes." Inside the closed meeting room, Zartek showed maps of the galaxy. Earth sat on the edge of contested space that had been fought over for 300 years. The Coalition protected free worlds. The Nexus conquered them. "We need allies," Zartek said simply. "Your world has resources, position, and warriors." The Earth leaders exchanged looks. President Garcia stood up. "With respect, Ambassador, we've barely reached our own moon. How can we help in a galactic war?" Zartek's large eyes blinked slowly. "You underestimate yourselves. Our scientists study your technology while on your ship. You solve problems differently." 2 weeks later, John Harris found himself appointed as Earth's first ambassador to alien worlds. The former diplomat had been chosen for his calm nature and quick thinking. Now he stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, Earth's newest ship upgraded with Coalition technology, headed for the Coalition headquarters. "Ambassador, we're being scanned," Captain Alan Frost reported. "And there's a Nexus scout ship following us." Harris nodded, trying to appear calmer than he felt. "Let's not start a fight, Captain. They might not give us a choice, sir." The Nexus ship fired a warning shot across their bow. Captain Frost smiled grimly. "Ambassador, you might want to hold on to something." The Defiant executed a maneuver that should have been impossible for a ship its size. It flipped end over end, coming up behind the Nexus vessel. "Fire warning shot," Frost ordered. "Show them we can bite back." The Earth weapons, though simple by galactic standards, struck with surprising force. The Nexus ship retreated quickly. At Coalition headquarters, a massive space station orbiting a blue gas giant, the Galactic Council viewed recordings of the encounter. 12 alien species made up the Coalition leadership, and none looked impressed. "Humans are barely a level 2 civilization," said Council Member Vorn, a tall insect-like being. "They have only just discovered faster travel. Yet they defeated a Nexus scout with minimal technology," another counselor argued. John Harris waited patiently as they debated. When finally allowed to speak, he stepped forward. "The Coalition sees us as children," Harris said. "The Nexus sees us as resources to be taken. We see ourselves differently." He played videos of Earth's history, showing human resilience and innovation even in the worst circumstances. "We may be new to the stars, but we fought against impossible odds our entire existence," Harris continued. "We adapt, we survive, and we never give up." While Harris spoke at the council, Beth Gordon, head of Earth Intelligence, made a disturbing discovery back home. Her team had captured a Nexus spy. "They plan to harvest Earth regardless of our answer," she told President Garcia, showing him the evidence. The peace offer they sent was a lie. The president's face hardened. "Tell Ambassador Harris, Earth is joining the Coalition." On the Defiant's return journey, they were met by 3 Nexus warships. Captain Frost prepared for a fight they couldn't win. But before the Nexus could attack, 5 Coalition battleships appeared. "Captain Frost," came a familiar voice over the comm. "This is Ambassador Zartek. The Council was impressed by your ambassador's words. They've agreed to full military alliance with Earth. Word spread through the galaxy. The primitive humans had joined the war. Most dismissed them as unimportant, but that changed when coalition training officers witnessed human soldiers in combat simulations. The humans adapted to impossible scenarios, worked around programmed limitations, and succeeded where other species failed. Videos of these training exercises went viral across galactic networks. In his private chambers, the Nexus Emperor watched these videos with growing concern. These humans, he said to his generals, they do not fight like any species we have encountered. One general vowed, "They are primitives, my emperor." "No," the emperor said quietly. "They are dangerous. Prepare our fleets. The human world must be dealt with immediately." The coalition ships landed at a special base built in the Nevada desert. Scientists from both worlds met to share what they knew. Dr. Greg Wallace, Earth's top quantum physicist, walked slowly around a coalition engine that could bend space itself. "This is how you travel between stars so quickly?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. The coalition engineer nodded. "Yes, we call it fold space technology. It has taken us 500 years to perfect." Greg smiled. "We've been working on similar theories, but we took a different path." He showed the alien his own research on his tablet. The coalition engineer's eyes widened. "This should not be possible," the alien said, studying the human equations. "You approach the problem backwards." "Sometimes looking at things differently helps," Greg said. "We might not have your technology, but we have fresh eyes." Across the base, Olivia Martinez worked with coalition shield experts. The aliens used energy fields that could stop most weapons, but they had weaknesses. "What if we modulate the shield frequency?" Olivia suggested. Like this. She sketched a design that made the alien scientists click their teeth in surprise. "We never considered this approach," one said. "It would make the shields 30% stronger using less power." The leader of the coalition science team reported back to their homeworld that night. "These humans solve problems in ways we cannot predict. Their technology is primitive, but their thinking is not." 2 days later, Nexus spies broke into the Nevada base. They moved silently through the shadows, using technology that made them nearly invisible. But Stephen Taylor, head of base security, had set up old-fashioned tripwires and pressure sensors that the high-tech spies didn't expect. Alarms blared. The Nexus agents ran toward the research building, desperate to steal what they could. Stephen and his team were waiting. The fight was brief and one-sided. "I don't understand," a captured Nexus agent said later. "Our stealth tech should have been undetectable." Stephen shrugged. "Sometimes the old ways work best." In the medical wing, coalition doctors watched in amazement as injured humans healed. "Your bodies repair damage so quickly," one alien doctor said to the base medical chief, "and you can accept blood and organs from other humans." "Not always," the human doctor explained. "But yes, we can share parts in ways your people cannot." The alien nodded slowly. "This explains much about your species' success. You are adaptable in ways we are not." In orbit, Earth's first true space carrier took shape. The UEA's Invictus combined human designs with coalition technology. It was smaller than coalition battleships, but faster and more heavily armed for its size. Captain Laura Bishop walked its halls with pride during the final inspection. Coalition observers followed, making notes. "Your weapon systems are unusual," one said. "You put guns everywhere." Laura smiled. "We believe in being able to fight in any direction." "Inefficient," another observer noted. "Unpredictable," Laura corrected. "The enemy won't know where we'll hit from." The Galactic Intelligence Agency dismissed human contributions in their weekly report. "The Earth vessels are curious, but not significant." That changed when Greg Wallace's team made their breakthrough. They found a way to detect Nexus stealth ships using a combination of Earth radar and coalition sensors. When tested, it worked better than anything the coalition had developed in a century. The head of the Galactic Intelligence Agency read the report on this discovery 3 times. Then he called an emergency meeting of the Coalition Defense Council. "We have underestimated the humans," he told the gathered leaders. "Their minds work differently than ours. They see patterns we miss and ignore rules we consider fixed." One council member scoffed. "They are still primitives." "No," the intelligence chief replied firmly. "They are innovators, and they may be exactly what we need to finally win this war." On Earth, the first human troops trained with coalition weapons. They learned quickly and often found ways to improve the alien designs. Their coalition trainers sent amaze reports back to their commanders. In his lab, Greg Wallace put the finishing touches on a new detection system that would change the course of the war. "It's ready," he told his team. "Let's show our new friends what humans can really do." The attack on Mars colony came without warning. 15 Nexus warships appeared near the red planet, their weapons ready. The colony had 20,000 people, mostly miners and scientists. They had only basic defenses. Major Frank Cooper was in charge of those defenses. He had been a Marine before volunteering for Mars duty. Now he watched the enemy ships on his screens and knew what they wanted. "They think we're weak," he told his troops. "Let's prove them wrong." The first Nexus ships sent down landing craft. They expected an easy victory. What they found was different. Cooper had placed gravity manipulation devices around the colony. Earth scientists had developed them for mining. But Cooper saw other uses. As Nexus troops stepped from their ships, Cooper activated the devices. Suddenly, the aliens found themselves too heavy to move or thrown high into the air. Their weapons, designed for normal gravity, became useless. "Keep them confused," Cooper ordered his people. "Hit and run, just like we practiced." The human defenders moved quickly, striking at the struggling invaders and then disappearing into hidden tunnels. The Nexus commanders couldn't understand how such a small force was stopping them. In orbit, the Nexus fleet prepared to simply bomb the colony from space. That's when the UES Invictus arrived, along with 3 coalition cruisers. Captain Laura Bishop's voice came over the Nexus communication channels. "This is Captain Bishop of Earth. You are attacking a civilian colony. Withdraw now." The Nexus commander's laughter could be heard in her response. "You bring 4 ships against our 15. Humans truly are as stupid as we were told." Bishop smiled at her bridge crew. "Let's show them how stupid we are." The Invictus moved with impossible speed, firing from multiple angles. The coalition ships followed, copying the human tactics. 3 Nexus ships were crippled in the first pass. "They're splitting their formation," Bishop's tactical officer reported. "They didn't expect us to be so aggressive." "Good," Bishop replied. "Continue the attack pattern." On the surface, Cooper's forces kept the Nexus ground troops pinned down. When Cooper's second-in-command was injured, he didn't hesitate. He led the next attack himself, driving the aliens back to their landing craft. In orbit, the battle took an unexpected turn. Several Earth fighters were damaged beyond repair. Nexus General Vorkath watched with satisfaction as the human ships drifted useless. "The humans are defeated," he told his bridge crew. Then the impossible happened. The damaged fighters turned toward Nexus command ships and accelerated. "What are they doing?" Vorkath demanded. His question was answered when the first fighter crashed directly into a Nexus cruiser's bridge. The explosion tore through the ship's command center. 2 more fighters followed, targeting engine sections on other vessels. "They're ramming us deliberately," Vorkath said in disbelief. "Why would they throw away their lives?" The coalition observers were equally shocked. In their culture, such sacrifice was rare. But the human pilots had ejected at the last moment, letting their doomed ships become weapons. "Humans fight differently," the coalition admiral told Vorkath over an open channel. "You should remember that." On the surface, Cooper's forces used the confusion to push the Nexus troops back completely. They used mining explosives and construction equipment as weapons. When Nexus soldiers took cover in a canyon, Cooper's engineers diverted a water reservoir to flood them out. They don't adapt, Cooper told his troops. They fight by the book. We don't have that book. After 6 hours of battle, the remaining Nexus ships retreated. They had lost 5 vessels and hundreds of ground troops. The Mars colony stood damaged but undefeated. Captain Bishop contacted Earth with news of the victory. The Nexus didn't expect us to win, she reported. They thought Mars would be easy. Coalition observers sent their own reports to their homeworld. The messages all said similar things. Humans fight like nothing we have ever seen. Across the galaxy, news spread. The primitive humans had won their first battle against the mighty Nexus. It made no sense. It scared many. And it changed how everyone viewed the newest species in the war. General Vorkath made his own report to the Nexus Emperor. The humans must not be underestimated again, he warned. They do not fight with honor or follow proper battle protocols. They are dangerous in ways we did not anticipate. The Emperor listened, his many eyes blinking slowly. Then we must crush them quickly, he decided, before they teach the Coalition their savage ways. 1 month after the Battle of Mars, leaders from Earth and the Coalition gathered on the neutral space station Harmony. The large meeting room had a round table where humans sat beside aliens from 12 different worlds. They all faced the same problem. The Nexus outnumbers us 3-1, a Coalition general said, pointing to star maps. We cannot win by fighting directly. Lisa Morgan sat quietly listening. She was not a soldier but a historian who studied ancient warfare. Earth's leaders had asked her to join this war council because she thought differently. Now all eyes turned to her. You're right, she said, standing up. We can't win by fighting their way. She walked to the star map and began placing markers on different points. These are Nexus supply lines, she explained. They need fuel, food, and weapons just like us. What if we attack these instead of their fleets? The Coalition leaders looked confused. That is not honorable battle, one said. This isn't about honor, Lisa replied. It's about winning. On Earth, our greatest generals won by attacking supply lines and using surprise. Cut off their supplies, and their ships become useless. She showed examples from Earth history, how smaller forces defeated larger ones through clever strategy rather than direct confrontation. Guerrilla warfare, she called it. Hit where they don't expect, then disappear before they can respond. Many Coalition members disliked the idea. It didn't follow their traditions of warfare, but the human victory at Mars had earned them respect. Show us how this would work, the Coalition Supreme Commander finally said. Meanwhile, on Earth, Ryan Kelly led a team of computer experts studying Nexus communications. The Coalition had tried for years to break Nexus codes without success. Ryan took a different approach. We don't need to break their encryption, he told his team. We just need to track their signal patterns. After 3 weeks of work, they made a breakthrough. They couldn't read Nexus messages, but they could tell when and where they were being sent. This created a map of Nexus activity that revealed their movement plans. They're predictable, Ryan explained to Earth Command. They follow standard patterns. We can use that against them. Back at the War Council, Lisa's strategy was finally accepted. The Coalition would change how they fought. Admiral Paul Nelson, commander of Earth's growing space fleet, would lead the first series of attacks. Small, fast ships, Nelson told his captains. We hit their fuel depots and supply ships, then run before their main fleet can respond. The Coalition observers were shocked when Nelson explained another part of the plan. We'll use fake distress signals and decoy ships, he said. The Nexus won't know which calls for help are real and which are traps. That's dishonorable, a Coalition officer objected. That's war, Nelson replied simply. We use every advantage we have. The new strategy began 2 days later. Nelson's ships struck a Nexus fuel depot near the front lines. They were in and out in less than 30 minutes, leaving the depot in flames. Next, they attacked 3 supply convoys in different sectors on the same day. The Nexus commanders couldn't predict where Nelson would strike next. They started sending warships to protect every convoy, spreading their forces thin. After 2 weeks, the Nexus supply system was in chaos. Their frontline ships ran low on fuel and parts. For the first time in the long war, the mighty Nexus fleet seemed vulnerable. Coalition leaders watched in amazement as the human strategy worked. Many began to adopt human tactics for their own ships. The rigid battle formations they had used for centuries gave way to more flexible approaches. Word reached the Nexus Emperor about these developments. His advisors played recordings of recent battles showing the new coalition tactics. "They fight like animals," one Nexus general complained. "No honor, no proper formations. They fight like humans," the Emperor corrected. "And they are teaching the coalition to do the same." He stared at the battle recordings, his expression dark. "The humans have changed everything," he said quietly. "We must adapt or we will lose this war. Divert all available resources to the human problem." Across the galaxy, species that had stayed neutral in the long conflict began to notice the shift. Some sent observers to coalition worlds to learn more about these humans who had changed the balance of power so quickly. In her small office on Harmony Station, Lisa Morgan worked on the next phase of her strategy. The Nexus was already responding to their supply line attacks. Now they needed to hit the Nexus in a way they would never expect. "Time to bring the war to their doorstep," she said to herself, marking a spot deep in Nexus territory. The Nexus launched their biggest attack in 50 years. 300 warships appeared near Valon, the most important manufacturing world in Coalition space. Valon made the engines and weapons for Coalition ships. If it fell, the war might end within months. News of the attack reached Earth quickly. The Coalition called for all available ships to defend Valon. It would take most of their fleet 3 days to arrive. By then, it might be too late. "We need to buy time," Admiral Nelson told his officers aboard the UES Invictus. "Our ships are faster. We can get there first." 20 Earth vessels, led by the Invictus, jumped to Valon ahead of the main Coalition force. Captain Laura Bishop looked at the enemy fleet on her view screen and took a deep breath. 300 Nexus ships against 20 from Earth. "Begin defensive pattern," she ordered. "Remember your training." Instead of forming a battle line like the Nexus expected, the Earth ships scattered in all directions. They fired from unexpected angles, damaged enemy ships, and then disappeared before the Nexus could respond. "They're trying to draw us out of formation," the Nexus commander realized. "Maintain discipline." But the human ships were too unpredictable. They seemed to be everywhere at once, causing confusion throughout the Nexus fleet. While the space battle distracted the Nexus, something else was happening. Small stealth shuttles slipped past the Nexus blockade, heading for the planet's surface. Inside them were Colonel Heather Lewis and her Special Forces team. "Our job is simple," Lewis told her soldiers. "Disable their command centers before they can coordinate their ground attack." Lewis and her team had trained for months for exactly this mission. They wore armor that blended with shadows and carried weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. They moved through the Nexus landing zones like ghosts. "Team 1 in position," Lewis whispered into her comm. "On my mark." Across 6 different landing zones, human teams placed small devices on Nexus communication equipment. When Lewis gave the signal, all the devices activated at once. The Nexus ground forces suddenly couldn't talk to each other or their ships in orbit. In space, the battle grew more intense. The UES Invictus took heavy damage from 3 Nexus battleships. "Hull breach on Deck 5, Bishop's first officer reported. "Engines at 60%. "Can we still maneuver?" Bishop asked. "Yes, Captain." "Then we stay in the fight." The Invictus limped away from the attackers, drawing them out of formation. Other Earth ships swooped in, targeting the exposed flanks of the Nexus vessels. Coalition reinforcements began to arrive, led by Ambassador Zartek himself. He watched the human tactics with growing respect. "Follow the Earth ship's lead," he ordered his fleet. Break formation. Attack from multiple vectors. For the first time in the long war, coalition ships abandoned their traditional battle lines. They fought like humans, unpredictable, aggressive, and creative. The Nexus commanders couldn't adapt quickly enough. On his flagship, the Nexus Supreme General watched in growing alarm. "This is not how battles are meant to be fought," he said to his staff. "There is no order to it." "Sir," his aide replied, "we're losing." Meanwhile, Dr. Greg Wallace had arrived at Valon on a special transport. He carried the prototype of his new weapon system. "It needs to be installed on the orbital defense grid," he explained to Valon engineers. "It will disrupt their shield frequencies." While the battle raged, Wallace and the Valon team worked frantically. Just as the Nexus fleet pushed forward for what might be a final attack, they activated the system. Across the Nexus front line, ship shields flickered and failed. Coalition weapons suddenly caused real damage. The tide of battle shifted. On Earth, Ambassador John Harris addressed a gathering of diplomats from previously neutral worlds. Representatives from 15 species listened as he showed them live feeds from the Valon battle. "For centuries, the Nexus has threatened your worlds," Harris said. "You stayed neutral because you believed neither side could win. Today that changes." One by one, the diplomats pledged their support to the coalition. New allies joined the fight against the Nexus Empire. In his palace on the Nexus homeworld, Emperor Jalvex watched the battle reports with growing rage. He turned to his advisors with cold fury. "I want all forces directed at Earth," he ordered. "Forget Valon. Forget the coalition. Destroy the human homeworld. Without Earth, the humans will lose their spirit." His advisors looked nervous. "That would require withdrawing from other fronts, my emperor." "Do it," Jalvex commanded. "The humans have become the greatest threat to galactic order in our history. They must be eliminated." As the Nexus fleet retreated from Valon, Captain Bishop allowed herself a small smile. They had won an impossible victory. But her sensors officer interrupted her moment of relief. "Captain, we're detecting massive Nexus fleet movements," the officer reported. "They appear to be regrouping for a new offensive." Bishop studied the data and felt a chill. They're heading for Earth. Earth had 6 days to prepare. The Nexus fleet would arrive with 500 warships, the largest attack force ever assembled in the Long War. Everyone knew what was at stake. If Earth fell, humanity would be crushed before it had truly joined the galactic community. Admiral Nelson gathered every available ship for Earth's defense. Coalition allies sent what they could spare, but most of their forces were still protecting their own worlds. In total, Nelson had 200 ships against the Nexus 500. "We're outnumbered," he told his captains, "but we're fighting for our home. We will not fail." Dr. Greg Wallace worked day and night in his lab with scientists from 3 different species. His new weapon was almost ready. "This isn't designed to destroy," he explained to Admiral Nelson. "It targets their neural systems, stunning their crews without killing them." Nelson looked surprised. "We could destroy their ships completely. Why hold back?" "Because we're not like them," Wallace answered simply. "We don't need to wipe out their civilization to win." The Admiral studied the weapon plans and nodded slowly. "Very well. If it works, we might end this war without more slaughter." Captain Laura Bishop and the damaged UES Invictus returned to Earth just 2 days before the Nexus would arrive. Despite recommendations to scrap the ship, Bishop insisted on repairs. "She'll fight again," Bishop told the repair crews. "We need every ship we can get." While Earth prepared for war, Captain Bishop received unexpected news. A Nexus civilian transport had entered the outer solar system under a flag of truce. Aboard were representatives of Nexus colony worlds, separatists who disagreed with Emperor Jalvex's policies. "We've watched how humans fight," their leader told Bishop during a secure meeting. "You could have destroyed many of our worlds, but you focused on military targets. Your restraint impressed us." "We don't want to destroy your people," Bishop replied. "We just want to live in peace." Many in the Nexus feel the same. This war has gone on too long. If you defeat Jalvex's fleet, we will support a new government. The information from the Separatists proved valuable. They'd provided details about Nexus fleet formations and the Emperor's battle strategies. Lisa Morgan used this to create a defense plan based on ancient Earth tactics. The Emperor expects us to meet his fleet head-on, she explained to Nelson and the coalition commanders. Instead, we'll use what the ancient Chinese general Sun Tzu called empty and solid. We show weakness where we are strong and strength where we are weak. The Nexus fleet arrived exactly when predicted. They formed a massive attack formation, with Emperor Jalvex's flagship in the protected center. They expected the Earth forces to defend in a traditional sphere around the planet. Instead, Nelson's fleet was nowhere to be seen. The Nexus advanced cautiously, scanning for traps. They found only a small group of apparently damaged ships near Mars. A pathetic defense, the Emperor said with satisfaction. Begin the attack on their homeworld. As the Nexus fleet moved past Mars, Nelson sprung his trap. Earth ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system, behind moons, inside asteroid clusters, and even from the sun's corona using special shields. They struck from all directions at once. Target their engines and communications, Nelson ordered. Prepare Wallace's device. The battle raged for hours. Earth ships fought with desperate courage, using every trick and tactic they had developed. Coalition allies followed their lead, abandoning traditional methods for human-style warfare. The Invictus, still showing battle damage, led a direct assault on the Emperor's flagship. Captain Bishop had one goal: to get close enough to use Wallace's device. We need to punch through their escort, Bishop told her crew. One clean shot at the flagship. Against all odds, the Invictus broke through the defensive screen. With enemy ships closing in from all sides, Bishop gave the order. Fire the pulse. Wallace's device activated, sending waves of energy through the Nexus command ships. Bridge crews collapsed, weapons went offline, and engines shut down. The massive Nexus formation suddenly drifted, powerless and harmless. Emperor Jalvex was captured alive. When he regained consciousness, he found himself facing Admiral Nelson and Captain Bishop. You could destroy us all, the Emperor said bitterly. Why don't you? Because that's not who we are, Bishop replied. We want peace, not extinction. 2 weeks later, representatives from all galactic species gathered at the newly formed Galactic Council. Humans sat as equals with races that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. The Nexus, now under new leadership, signed a peace treaty ending centuries of war. The Galactic Council officially recognized humanity as a Level 5 civilization, the fastest advancement in galactic history. But it wasn't human weapons or technology that had earned this respect. It was their unique blend of innovation, determination, and compassion. As Ambassador John Harris signed the new Galactic Charter, he smiled at his alien colleagues. This is just the beginning, he said. Imagine what we can accomplish together in peace.